Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while. Welcome to Student Body Right, dedicated to all things college football here on the Cole County Entertainment Network. I am your host, Ryan Neff. We are fast approaching media days next month for all the conferences when it comes to college football. We are, a little over 2 months from week zero, or whatever the hell I call it, week zero, week A, I don't know. I don't even know what they call it anymore. But welcome. Before I bring him on, as I do with most guests who have a fight song. Let's just play that. Let's play that. I've got questions heading into summer camp, fall camp, whatever they call it. I don't know. I've got questions galore for this gentleman. Let's bring him on though. HawkeyeReport.com at Hawkeye Report on the Twitter machine. That would be Mr. Thomas KAKERT. Tom, it's been a little while.
Yes. Good to see you, Ryan.
You too, my friend. So let's get into it here. Now, let's just dive into it. Look, We know what the theme is going to be this year. The defense will probably be spectacular. The offense is kind of a dumpster fire. It has been for the last 5-6 years. The defense has kept them in games. Look, last year they finished 9-4. They won the bowl game against Vanderbilt. But they could have easily won those 4 games that they lost. They weren't blowouts or anything. They were close games. Tom, I've said this for the last 6 years, if they would have some semblance of an offense, running is not the problem. It's the passing game. They just have not had a quarterback work out in the last 5-6 years. What say you heading into summer camp? I mean, I know there's a quarterback battle going on. Is there anybody that's sort of pulled ahead a little bit in the quarterback area?
Yeah, well, look at the passing yardage last year, 1,861 yards. They haven't had a 2,000-yard passer for a season since 2019. Nate Stanley. Mark Gronowski now. He may have gotten there had he been healthy. He hurt his leg in the Indiana game and was somewhat hobbled a little bit, but still, he averaged 133 yards per game throwing the football. So he got off to a really slow start. The first game, gosh, I remember the first game he threw for, I think, 44 yards. Just, first 2 games, he didn't crack 100 yards either game. Iowa State, and it wasn't like they're playing, the Iowa State was a tough game in Ames.
But, right.
The first game was against Albany.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, it's been an issue. The receivers have not performed well. They haven't had a wide receiver. They've had some good tight ends. A wide receiver has not cracked over 500 yards receiving since 2019. Mir Smith-Set and Tyrone Tracy Jr., who's now a running back for the New York Giants.
Yep.
They have not had a lot of success throwing the football. They've been pretty solid run the football. They won the Joe Moore Award last year. The offensive line did. Thought they ran the ball really well last year. Gronowski, very good on the ground. He led the team in rushing touchdowns with 16. Kamari Moulton had almost 100 yards rushing in 11 games. So they've had some good players. They've had some success. They've not had success running the ball. Now, I will say, points per game, they were at 29.3. So they did score more points. You can attribute some of that special teams. Caden Weegan, who's with the Steelers now, was just a maniac on special teams with four scores last year as a special teams guy, and he won the Jet Award which goes to the top return guy in the country. second year in a row he's won that. So they have had struggles on offense. One thing that I'll say though, I'm concerned about the defense this year.
Okay.
Just because they lost a lot. We got 3 starters back, and Zach Lutmer is probably the leader of the defense. I think, just from my perspective, he seems like the guy that's going to be the leader of that group, and he's a potential All-American. But they're going to have, he played the cash position, kind of that hybrid position, 5th defensive back, almost like a nickel, but sometimes kind of a souped-up safety, but. He's going to probably have to float back to free safety, which might limit his playmaking. Jaden Montgomery's probably going to start at one of the linebacker positions, but not at middle. I think that's going to be Cam Buffington, who's going to be one of the new guys that I think's got a chance to be pretty special. And then Deshaun Lee at corner is another starter back. So they've got 3 potential starters back on the back end, but on the back 7, but they're really green up front. 6 of their top 8 guys are gone, NFL camp, or left the program. One of the guys left the program. So they've got some significant holes to fill, because if they can't stop the run, it's going to be a long day. So that's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, I mean, they were fantastic against the run last year.
Yeah.
They've been fantastic. Defensively, the last 6-7 years, they have been fantastic. So when you're saying that you're a little iffy on the defense this year, I tend to lean your way, because you're in the thick of it there. But I've heard stuff like this before.
I know.
Certain teams, you know what I mean? So it always seems to be the strength of the team. And Ferencz has got to be pulling his hair out year after year. What do we have to do offensively to get us over the hump? Because if they would have had any sort of a semblance of an offense, Tom, the last 6-7 years, we might not be talking about Ohio State and Oregon winning Big Ten titles. We might be talking about Iowa winning titles.
Yeah, you look at the loss. Iowa State, a 3-point loss. They could have easily won that game. Indiana game. And we'll talk about that in the context of the quarterback battle, I'm sure. They had Indiana beat.
Yeah.
They did. Dante Moore throws a great pass to beat Iowa 18-16 in Kinnick. The loss at USC, they were up in that game. And just a rainy day in SoCal. Just they were controlling that game for most of it. I mean, they could have very, very, very easily been in the CFP last year. Really could have. But they won some close games too. They beat Michigan State 20-17. Got by Penn State 25-24, and that was when Penn State was really scuffling too. So they had some close. They had a couple of close encounters that they won too. So I think that stuff evens out over time. But they rushing gave up 107.7 on the ground, an average of 3.4 yards per carry. I think Phil Parker would like to have that more like 3-9, something like that. But overall, the one thing they didn't do last year really was create a lot of turnovers. They just didn't. The interceptions were down. They had just 11 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles, or 11 forced fumbles, 3 fumbles recovered. So they just didn't have a ton of turns last year that they tend to usually do defensively. They're usually up around 20. So I thought
Lost the signal, waiting for him to come back. It is storming here as well. Hopefully, we get his signal back. There he is. There he is.
Yeah, sorry.
Can you hear me?
We just
That's
disappeared.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, your screen kept spinning, so it's kind of storming here.
Okay.
Storms blowing through, but you're back now.
All right. Yeah, it was just they got the same level of production that they usually do for an Iowa defense, but they did it a different way, I thought. They didn't have they kept their streak alive of it's interesting. They've got 10 straight years where they've held opponents under 20 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
It's really impressive. And they've been able to have one pick six every year for like 20 some years in a row. And so they continue to be productive. Yeah. So go ahead, fire away.
So I'm interested to see. I'm all over the place with like analysis and stuff like that. So, Mr. Riley Donald, who writes for Sports Illustrated, he covers Iowa football. Here are his 3 keys that will make or break the 2026 version of the Iowa Hawkeyes. I want to see if you agree. He has time of possession. Got to have time of possession. He has turnover margin. And the last thing he has is yards after the catch. What say you?
I don't know about time of possession. I think there's some logic to it that if the defense is going to be a bit more of a question mark, that the offense wants to control the ball and do those things. Turnover margin is always important. That's to Kirk Ferentz.
Right.
He's always going to live and die by the turnover margin. And that's going to come into play when we talk about quarterback and who ends up being the starter at quarterback because of something Kirk said after the last spring practice that's kind of stuck with me since then. What was the last thing he had?
Yards after the catch, as far as the receiver goes.
Yeah, maybe. You got to have some explosives. I think that would be one of the things that you don't necessarily yards after catch, but just explosive plays. And that's, for Tim Lester, the offensive coordinator, that's plays 25 yards or more in the air and 15 plus on the ground. They didn't have a ton of explosives on the ground last year, but they had, I go back to like the Caleb Johnson season where, Caleb was busting those big runs all the time. And last year, Kamari Moulton he couldn't get that corner, couldn't get that little edge where he could turn a 10-yard run into a 30-yard run kind of thing, or 40 or 50-yard run. So that's going to be something that I think they want to hit more, is kind of hit those explosives on the ground, but they're happy to just keep moving the chains too.
Other than Brown or Heklinski, is there anybody else in that quarterback room that could possibly sneak in there?
No. So let's talk about the quarterbacks. So for people who don't know, there are 2 quarterbacks competing for the job, and they honestly split them right down the middle in terms of number of reps, number of plays with the first team, everything. They would alternate all the time for all of spring practice, all 15 practices. And they were pretty equal. One thing Tim Lester said towards the end of spring practice was that, in fact, Hank Brown probably had more explosive plays than Jeremy Hecklinski. Now, here's the narrative on both guys. Hank Brown is he's your guy that's right out of central casting for Iowa quarterback. 6'3", 6'4", big, kind of more, I wouldn't say lumbering. I don't think that's fair to him, but just more of a traditional drop back passer with size and a big arm. Hecklinski is probably 5'10", a little more stockily built. He moves pretty well though. And Tim Lester, this is Tim Lester's words, called him a gunslinger. So he's more of a risk taker. Mm-hmm. Where Brown is not the risk taker. So I go back to something that Kirk Ferentz said at the end of spring ball. And I asked him about the quarterback race. And he said, two things I look at are, can you move the team, and do you avoid making mistakes? And I'm not sure the second one isn't the first one on the Kirk Ferentz list. Avoid making mistakes first and move the team second.
Yeah.
And maybe therein lies why the offense sometimes struggles, is they play it pretty conservatively. The narrative among Iowa fans is they want the gunslinger. They do. Every fan base wants the gunslinger. They want the guy who's going to be exciting, going to throw it around the yard and make some mistakes. Oh, well, it's fun. We're having fun. Kirk Ferentz probably leans towards the guy who's going to make less mistakes. Now, from a fan perspective, there's one play, and I think if this play went the other direction, Iowa fans would be pretty in on Hank Brown. But the play didn't go that direction, and now that's what's burned into their brains is this one play, and it was against Indiana. It was a third down. Gronowski had left the game with a knee issue. Yep. Brown's driving them down the field. They're probably about the 30-yard line, somewhere around there, and maybe inside the 25, around the 25, 30-yard line. Third down, and if they convert it, they probably could drain the clock down, kick a field goal, and win the game. I think it would have been interesting. They call a screen pass to Kamari Moulton. It was the perfect call, except for the fact that Hank Brown threw it in the dirt behind Kamari Moulton. He had two guys in front of him. I've seen the video from the end zone. He probably scores a touchdown on the play. I can't say it for sure. He would have certainly gotten the first down, but he had two blurs in front of him, a lot of green grass in front of him, or AstroTurf, I should say, or field turf in front of him, green field turf. And Hank threw it short and missed it. And that's burned into the memories of Iowa fans because they saw, and we saw what Indiana did this past season. They won a national title, and they would have. Yeah. And then Drew Stevens misses a field goal, and then Fernando Mendoza hits Surratt on Iowa has to bring the blitz, and Surratt just beat Deshaun Lee and scored a 49-yard touchdown, and the rest, as they say, is history. It's 20-15 final. That's how it went. It was right there. But this is what it is,
You talk about not making mistakes. Obviously, the strength of the team again is going to be the running game because the offensive line will probably be fantastic. I know they've got a slew of running backs. They've got running back depth. But like you said, you're concerned about the defense. Mm-hmm. If the defense struggles a little bit this year, Tom, the offense this year in particular, from what you're saying, is really going to have to step up to the plate.
Yeah, I think they might have to lean on it a little more. They've got Kamari Moulton, Xavier Williams, this young guy. Well, actually not a young guy, but a veteran, more of a veteran guy, but a new to the program guy from South Dakota, LJ Phillips. They're really high on Nathan McNeil, who's going to be a sophomore, who could end up being the best back out of that group, I think. So they've got some options there, got some guys, and they're all kind of different because Phillips is more of a bowling ball, low center of gravity, smaller guy, but kind of just stocky and runs hard. Williams is a power back. Moulton's more of kind of a traditional looking running back, but on the small side. And McNeil's just kind of a smooth glider, can play. So I think the interesting thing is going to be the passing game, the receivers, the tight end. Tight end group is really strong. DJ Voname is going to be a guy that gets talked about for the Mackey Award.
Okay.
He had 91 yards receiving and a touchdown against Nebraska. And then in the bowl game, he should have been the MVP of the bowl game. I think he had a 141 against Vandy and a touchdown in that game. And he just came on like gangbusters. And he is really good. He reminds me of Sam Laporta.
Okay.
Because he can really run. He's really good. And they got a couple of guys in the transfer portal at receiver that they're pretty excited about. The guy that's got the most excitement is a guy named Tony Diaz from Rio Grande Valley State, who was just in their first year of playing college football. And Iowa took a weird approach to the portal this year, where everybody else kind of goes out and tries to find guys at, Bama or Florida or Ole Miss or Ohio State or Michigan that's just kind of washed out there and bring those guys in. Iowa went and found guys at like the FCS level, or a JMU or someplace like that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of guys at the FCS level, and have a couple years left. They didn't take many like 5th-year senior guys or people like that. They just took some different guys that had more time on their clock. It was a calculated move, and we'll see how it works out. But they felt like those guys exhibited some good traits that could help them, and also more of a long-term play, get them in the program, and
right.
They assimilate into what they do. So Tony Diaz, the boogeyman, as he's called, he's a big play guy. He's fast, goes up, catches everything, but he's like 170 pounds soaking wet, so he's got dinged up in spring pretty easily. So one of the goals after spring ball was to get some more weight on him, get him stronger. Same with Evan James, another guy that they got in the portal. Plus, they've got a healthy Reese Vanderzee is going to help them. Now, he doesn't need the weight. He's 6'4", 215. He's a big body, really good. But his first 2 years, he's missed 5 games due to foot injuries. So they've just got, if he can put together a full year with those guys and the potential they have, Dayton Howard's another big receiver that's come along, Jarrett Bowie, KJ Parker. They've got some guys, and they've got some depth at tight end too with Thomas Meyer and guys like that. So Addison Ostrengo will be back. He tore his Achilles very early in the first quarter of the Iowa State game, and he's healthy now. And so adding.
Oh, lost the connection again. So hopefully he comes back on. This is the power of live podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have technical glitches. He was talking about the tight end group there. Again, it's storming here. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Hopefully, he'll come back on. I'll wait for him to come back on, and there he is again. He's waiting. Just says device not connected. Again, I don't know if it's on my end, if it's on his end. Just waiting for him to come back on. Hopefully, he will be back on. Again, you're going to have glitches. The power of live broadcasting, storms and stuff. He's trying to come back on. We'll see if he comes back on here. It'd be a shame if he couldn't get back on due to either the technical stuff that's going on, maybe with the storms. I don't know. It's still spinning. It's trying to bring him on, but for some odd reason this time it's not bringing him on. So again, I will sit here and wait. Again, he was talking about the tight ends. Yes, the Iowa, they're going to be stacked at running back, great depth. Tight ends, great depth. Quarterback will be an issue. Again, like he was saying, do you pick the guy that's the gunslinger, or are you going to pick the guy that makes the least amount of mistakes? Again, there he is. Again, the power of live broadcasting, Tom. You're going to have glitches like this come and go. But again, you were talking about the tight end room. This version of the Iowa Hawkeyes, it's not like they don't have weapons, because they do. Let me just do this here. There we go. But again, if the defense is going to be struggling a little bit this year, this is the year that the offense is going to have to take flight.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do this for the hell of it. I'm looking at the schedule for this upcoming year.
Sure.
I will be having my third annual college football preview special, which Tom has always been generous in the past of coming on. Look, they opened up with Northern Illinois. Look, I know Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame a couple of years ago. Blah 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 blah. Iowa should walk away with the win, and now he's gone again. See if he comes back on. I don't know what's going. It's going crazy, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely going crazy. Hopefully he gets back in here. We can go over the schedule. Like I said, they open with Northern Illinois. They should win that one. Here he comes again. Hopefully the screen is still spinning. Sometimes you just have to laugh.
There we are.
There we go. Like I said, they should beat Northern Illinois. Then they have Iowa State. Look, the other coach is gone. He took a lot of people with him. I'm expecting Iowa to win that game.
Yep.
Then they have Northern Iowa. Yes, it's sort of an in-state thing. They should win that one. But here is where the schedule, I think, will be the make or break part of their season.
Yes, sir.
They go to Michigan. It's
Yep.
the Whittingham era. Don't know what we're going to get with Michigan yet. That's a road game. Then they get Ohio State at home.
Yep.
Which I've got that one circled. Then they have to go to Washington. I still don't know what we're getting with Washington. Could be tough. I don't know. Then they go to Minnesota, which is always tough.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, they got the big one against Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not what they used to be. Then they go to Northwestern, post Pat Fitzgerald. Now we don't know what we're going to get with Northwestern. And he's disappeared again. I don't know why. Home against Purdue, they'll win that one. Then they're at Illinois. Illinois got a lot to replace. Then they're home against Nebraska. And here he comes again. Hopefully, just have to laugh. There he is.
Yeah, we got
Michigan State, Ohio State game. I would even say the Illinois game are the three biggies.
Yeah, I think that the obvious toughest stretch is that at Michigan, Ohio State, at Washington, and I'll note the Washington game is on a Friday night too, so it's
Yep.
a short week. So that's really tough. It's tough playing out there. Kirk Ferentz has never won on the road in a true road environment on the West Coast as Iowa's head coach. The only time they won out in that Western time zone was the 2019 Holiday Bowl when they beat USC, and that's the only time that they have been able to emerge victorious against a West.
And he's disappeared again. I will try to make it short with him the next time he comes on. That way he can get out of here and he doesn't get aggravated or frustrated. Again, I don't know if it's on my end. Here he comes again.
I think the weather gods are conspiring against us.
Yeah. So, you know, if they can at least split with Michigan and Ohio State, and some of these other games are toss ups, if they can get to 10-2,
Yeah,
they should make a college football playoff. They should get a berth.
yeah, they're I think their win total 7.5. So they've got, it's there. They've dominated the series with Minnesota. They've dominated the series with Nebraska. Purdue won't be great. I
No.
think Western's interesting. Wisconsin could be better, but it's in Iowa City.
Yep.
They should win the first 3.
Yeah, I think the weather gods are not shining upon us right now. Like you said, Northwestern. I think they'll beat Northwestern. They'll beat Purdue. Here he comes again. Illinois is a tough one on the road, and then they get Nebraska at home. Nebraska should be improved. I don't know if they're going to be that improved.
Yep.
I still like Iowa at home in that game.
I do too. Iowa's dominated that series just like they have against Minnesota. So
before the weather gods kick me in the ass again, Tom. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Tom KAKERT. He covers the Iowa Hawkeyes for On3, the Hawkeye Report.
yes.
.com. Sometime in August, Tom, I am going to have my third annual college football special, and I will have to bring you on. Talk about the Iowa season. We'll talk about the Big Ten, what you think. Talk about the whole college football. It's just a mess. But when you come back on in August, hopefully we can get more in depth.
Hopefully some weather will cooperate. Right?
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for having me on.
Thanks, Tom. It's always appreciative. Thank you.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yep. Tom KAKERT, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, forgot to do this. I got to play him out. What people were saying. I could not find anything. And I don't want YouTube or whoever getting on my app, but these are all, this is stuff you can play. Some of the stuff I played in the past as far as little music clips and snippets, they've said that now. It's Iowa, ladies and gentlemen. The Iowa fight song. Hey, look, I don't have really any other, there's really nothing major going on in the world of college football right now. Nothing that I've seen. There are publications that still, they're coming out with their as of June, this is what we feel like the preseason polls will be. Which, again, I've said this before, and I say it again. I've said it for the last 4 years, 5 years. Get rid of the AP poll and get rid of the coaches poll. They don't mean diddly shit anymore. Because after the first week, they change. They don't mean a thing. If Phil Steele, some of the other publications are going to come up with their preseason top 25, and they want to come up with their big ass thing of college football, the breakdown of X, Y, and Z. That's great. That's fantastic. Nix the AP poll, nix the coaches poll. Have no preseason polls in any sort of college sports anymore. Semi-pro sports is what I call it. Let the season play out. And college football, play the first 8 weeks. After the 8th week, let the College Football Playoff Committee come out with their rankings and follow the bouncing ball until the final weekend is played. And then let them come out, whoever they're going to pick, and then you seed them. Same thing with college basketball. There's just too much that goes on. Just get rid of it. Let the season play out, and then maybe in February, if the college basketball committee, the March Madness committee, if they want to come out with their rankings, then great. Same thing with softball. Same thing with baseball, volleyball, XYZ. The rankings mean nothing. It's a joke. Again, I just looking over some news and notes. I don't see anything of major importance. There's a lot of recruiting stuff going on. People leaving. It's just there's just like nothing major league. The only thing that I saw, this is reported by Heather Dinich, ESPN. This is reported on. This is reported on Friday. Big 12 presidents and chancellors haven't rushed to pull the league's recently filed federal lawsuit because there are still questions about Texas Tech quarterback Brandon Sorsby's NFL future and any possible legal retribution, a conference source told ESPN Friday evening. The Big 12 Board of Directors is expected to have a call early next week, which would be this week, sources said, to discuss next steps. Some have questioned what, if any, liability could exist the conference or how it will play out with the NFL given Sorsby's admitted history of gambling. Again, we will have to keep an eye on that. And of course, just like looking over some college football sites, it's all the same stuff. Yeah, you still have the players are committing for 2027. And it's just some of the same stuff. So, with all that being said, I'm going to bust out of here. Tomorrow, hopefully, back-to-back shows here on the Cole County Entertainment Network with early evening sports buffet with the Ginch, and I might do another, for what it's worth, the political show. All kinds of stuff going on in the world of politics right now. It makes you want to take a pencil and jam it into your eye, right through the socket, both, and your ears, and your throat. But anywho, I'm going to end it there. Enjoy the World Cup. There is still World Cup action on tonight. I believe that there's a game at 8 and 11, or something like that, or 6 and 9. One ongoing right now, I believe, and the other one I believe is at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Enjoy that. Major League Baseball. We're approaching the All-Star break, ladies and gentlemen. Almost half the season is gone already. It goes, for the boys of summer, it goes fast. The NFL, we're fast approaching. Mini camps, or not most, summer camps. I call it summer. Some people say it's fall camp. It's not fall camp. It's in the summer. It's summer camp. Some other stuff too tomorrow. Wyndham Clark wins his second U.S. Open. But again, I'm going to end it there. Enjoy whatever sports action you're going to watch tonight. What kind of music should I play for my outro since I don't have my regular stuff? I don't know what happened to it. How about some drum roll? No, we're not going to do that. Here we go. How about some AI rock? I want to thank Mr. Tom KAKERT for coming on here talking about Iowa Hawkeyes football. I've said before and I'll say it again. Had they had some sort of a semblance of a quarterback and a passing game, we may not be talking about Ohio State and Ohio State and Michigan and Oregon winning some Big Ten titles. It could have been Iowa. But peace out, everybody. I will see everybody